Hello, welcome to Face to Face with me. I'm Daisy Anwar in a program that brings the world to your screen and where we meet people who make a difference to our lives. And in this episode, I'll be talking about a different way of doing business, one that is not driven by profit, but one that is based on a social mission, the desire to do business by helping others. And it's referred to as social entrepreneurism. We'll be talking to Muhammad Yunus, who's a professor of economics and a banker, and also the founder of Grameen Bank that gives microcredit to poor women of Bangladesh. Now, Professor Muhammad Yunus is a true social entrepreneur, and he makes a business of helping others. In terms of macroeconomy, Indonesia is doing quite well. According to a recent report released by the World Bank, the country's economic outlook for growth is expected to be 6% in 2012, increasing to 6.4% in 2013. The country's income per capita has steadily risen from $2,200 in the year 2000 to $4,700 in 2011. And yet, the fact is, more than 32 million Indonesians out of a population of 234 million still live below the poverty line, with many more not far above this line. Employment growth remains slower than the growth of productive workers, resulting in high number of unemployment and underemployment. This makes the informal sector an important part of Indonesia's economy. Indeed, micro, small and medium enterprises make up the bulk of the country's economic activities. Where the formal sector cannot absorb the amount of available labor, the informal sector becomes important in business and job creation. For this, however, access to working capital becomes important, as individuals and small businesses need the money to start and set up their business. Indonesia has had a long history of providing microcredits and loans to small businesses and cooperatives through microfinancing, known as the People's Business Credit, Credit Usaha Rakyat, often at the village level, and some banks that give out small loans with little collateral. Indeed, it is the presence of this informal sector in Indonesia's economy, powered by micro and small businesses, that has cushioned the country from past global financial crises. One person who was inspired by Indonesia's microfinancing is economist and banker Professor Muhammad Yunus from Bangladesh. His Grameen Bank, set up to give loans to poor women in Bangladesh, has helped lift many families out of poverty and earned him the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm happy to meet him again during his recent visit to Indonesia to talk about the importance of microfinancing, as well as how to create businesses that could help people help themselves out of poverty. So, Professor Yunus, it's so nice to see you back in Indonesia.
Well, it's nice to see you,
again.
Indeed. It's fantastic.
I know last time we met was 2009.
Yes, exactly.
So,
way back.
Tell me, what brought you to Indonesia at this time?
Well, this time it's first one microfinance, International Microfinance Conference in Yogyakarta. So I was invited to be the keynote speaker for them. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the meeting here with the MDG goals and the panel that the United Nations have created. Mm-hmm. So the preparation for the panel discussion is going on.
Mm-hmm. Should we sit down?
And also I did a public lecture today on social business. Mm-hmm. That was another thing.
Now, the microfinance, which is, you're an expert of it, the Grameen Bank. But how do you find microfinancing developing in Indonesia?
One of the earlier countries, pioneer countries, which started microcredit after Grameen Bank to replicate Grameen Bank was Indonesia. And that program was known as Karya Usaha Mandiri. And we were very happy that Indonesia took interest in the work that we were very small at that time. Since then, there are lots of other programs have been created here in Indonesia. And I would say it's proceeding well. But like in many other countries, the problem is the program is known, many active players are running those programs. It still is run by NGOs mostly. Mm-hmm. And they are the ones who are non-collateral microcredit program addressing the poorest people, particularly poorest women, keeping the mission of the program intact. They are the ones. As a result, it's very small. It's not as big the country demands. Indonesia is a big country. There are a lot of people in remote islands and also in the big cities who are not included in the financial sector. They cannot go into a bank and borrow money. There's no other institution who are doing that. Most of them the victims of traditional loan sharks. They don't feel it because they are born into that system and they continue to do the system. In many places globally, I'm sure it's same in Indonesia, if you are in business and run little business in a day-to-day way on a street side, you borrow from somebody in the morning and pay back in the evening, pay almost 20% per day interest rate or 10% per day interest rate. Imagine how much annual interest rate it accumulates. If the financial system is available to them, they could save all this money for themselves and they could improve their business, their income capacity much more.
Now, of course, the Grameen Bank has a different model of microfinancing. Perhaps you could tell us the difference and how that could be used as an example for Indonesian microfinancing institutions to grow into a much sort of bigger institution that can actually provide more loans at much smaller interest rates to these people.
What is globally known as microcredit or microfinance actually came from the system that Grameen Bank developed and designed, this adoption of that system in many different countries. Same as Indonesia, it's the same system. Basically what we do, their objective is to reach the financial services to the poorest women without any collateral. You are not asking for any collateral at all. And the loan will be for income generating activity. It's not a consumption loan.
Grameen Bank to borrow to buy a motorbike or something.
Not like that. That will not be the part of the Grameen Bank microcredit program. Grameen Bank microcredit program always is given for income generating activity, meaning that you are using it to create a business for yourself. You sell something, produce something and sell it, or grow something on your land and sell it, those kind of things. So that money that you invested must generate income for you. So that out of that income, you are paying back the loan to the bank, and that's it. So that's the tradition of microcredit, and it's always focused on poorest women. That's again a tradition coming from Grameen Bank.
So what's the thought behind it? Why women as opposed to men?
It all began because in Bangladesh I was complaining that the conventional banks not only lend money to the poor people, they don't even lend money to poor women, even if she is a rich woman. Because the system is made such a way they kind of discourage or deny discriminate against women. And I gave many examples, and I tell them, look at your statistics, not even 1% of your borrowers happen to be women. How do you justify that? So when I began, I wanted to make sure half of the borrowers in my program are women. So I was going out to the women to persuade them to join Grameen Bank, take a loan. They refused to do that. They said, no, give it to my husband. Because traditionally that's husband's responsibility to handle money, and she is very afraid to touch money. So we had to break those fears. Working with them, build confidence in them so that she can start using the money and start making money. It took us 6 years to come to 50-50 level. Then we saw money going to the family through women brought so much more benefit to the family than the same amount of money going to the family through men. Seeing this again and again, we thought, why don't we just start focusing on women? Because it changes the family so much faster. So we started focusing on women. And as a result, our percentage of women become bigger and bigger. And at one point it became 96%, 97%. Today, all over Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, 97% are women. We have almost 8.5 million borrowers in Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, and mostly are women.
মানুষের বাড়ি কাজ করতাম, গ্রামীণ ব্যাংকে ঢুকছি যখন, তখন আর কাজ ছেড়ে দিয়েছি। যে আজ আমার 2টা বাচ্চা, অনেক কষ্ট, অনেক লাঞ্ছনা ভোগ করি, পরের বাড়ি কষ্ট ক্লেশ করি মানুষ করার পরে এই গ্রামীণ ব্যাংকে ঢুকে এখন আমার ছেলে আহসানুল্লাহ বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে পড়াশোনার সুযোগ পেয়েছে। মেয়েটা অনার্স করছে।